Hello, everyone. It is Jennifer Osger here, and I am making this video because I have been home for the past week. I'm a 20-year teacher. I teach English at a public high school, and I really wanted to start making videos because I felt the calling to share my thoughts, my experiences from the past, some of my strengths that I'm relying upon right now. I thought it might help people. And it's interesting. I'm actually kind of nervous doing this, even though I've spoken before and made videos before. I think the reason why I'm a little nervous is I realize that the stakes are higher than ever right now with COVID-19, coronavirus, whatever you want to call it. Um, the world is stressed out, and I do professional development on mindfulness, social emotional learning, emotional intelligence, and this is my jam in the classroom. And now I'm really being put in a position to practice what I've been teaching and walk the walk as I'm talking the talk. So I've committed and dedicated to myself to do these videos. I'd love to do one a day and just talk about what I've been doing with my time, how I'm leveraging my strengths, and how you might be inspired to do the same thing. There's, the comment box that I invite people to comment. I'm going to be posting this on my Facebook personal page, and I'll be posting it on my professional page, which is Jennifer at Genformation. Well, actually, wait a minute. That's my email, jennifer@genformation.com. Genformation is my Facebook page. I also have a pretty defunct LinkedIn, but now I'm writing articles, doing the same thing. When I was in the classroom from 7 in the morning until sometimes 4 or 5 o'clock at night, there just wasn't any time to be able to do this. But now we're having 2 weeks off from actual instruction, and we're going into our second week of the two. And right now, the writing's on the wall that we are not coming back. And how is that going to work, us teaching from home? I don't know. I know a lot of different possibilities, but when it all comes down to it, I really don't know how this is going to play out. But what I do know is I will be home, and I will have more time to at least dedicate 20 minutes to crank out an article or to make a video, because I really would like to share with you different strategies that I have learned and use, and I'm going to really rely upon now as I'm home. So, that being said, giving you a little framework and a little information of how you can reach out to me, where you can find me, a little bit about myself. So, I have been teaching since 2000. I did 13 years of middle school English, reading, communications. I have done freshman English, senior English. I really love um, my career journey with education, because for so long I've never done elementary school. I'm not certified to do elementary school. Um, I have two children of my own. One is currently in elementary school. I am a children's author, and I've written a children's book. So I've gone into elementary schools, done writers' visits, authors' visits, what do you call it, school assemblies. So I do have that experience. However, my training and my focus, 13 years at middle school, and I really enjoyed that time. When I was in school, it wasn't called middle school, it was junior high. It was not a fun time for me. I was extremely awkward. Not that I've outgrown that, but very awkward. I was teased. I guess you could say, bullied emotionally. Um, then I would go home, and normally you would think home would be a soft place to fall. But for me, that was not the case. So I really had nowhere to go to thrive and to flourish, except I did sing. I was in the singing groups, and that really saved me. And were it not for my choral director and one or two, mainly English teachers along the way, yeah, I honestly don't think I would have made it. So that's why I feel that me teaching middle school was so important, because I understood those lost souls. I understood the child who just wanted to do anything to be under the radar, to be pretty much invisible. And I could spot those kids, and I would really make a concerted effort to let them know that I am their soft place to fall. I've had lots of students come up to me years later saying, you were that one teacher. So I'm extremely grateful for that. Now, when I was teaching them, I would say a lot of times, you need to, learn, back then I wasn't really doing strength-based leadership like I am now. And I would say, this isn't going to fly in the high school. You really need to get a better organizational system, because at the high school, they're not going to accept late work. When you get to the high school, they're not going to give you study guides and blah, 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 blah. Then I got to the high school and I started teaching freshmen. So I loved that. I loved that I knew exactly where they were coming from. And I was that bridge. I was that safety net again for freshmen, and helping them to transition from middle school, which is a lot of, not that it's a bad thing, but a lot of hand holding, helping them a lot. And then you get to the high school, and of course, we still help them and support them, but it's a lot more self directed, a lot more independent, a lot more self advocating, for the student. They need to do that. So I loved that. And then after doing that for a couple of years, I went on a sabbatical because, as I said, I wrote the children's book. And when I got that published by a national education company, they really wanted me to promote it, do all kinds of work. So I took a professional sabbatical, and that freed me up to do a lot of other career exploration with organizational leadership, um, design thinking. I got this tremendous, that's a new word, tremendous. It's tremendous and incredible opportunity to be immersed in strength based leadership. And it's called appreciative inquiry, where you ask positive questions to get a positive answer to a, not even a problem, but to focus on the future. And I will can totally geek out on that at some other point. Um, but I came back a couple years ago, back into this classroom with this arsenal of wonderful strategies. And when I came back, they said, "Hey, guess what? You're not doing freshmen anymore. You're doing seniors." I'm like, whew, that's different. And I was really excited. And I came to realize how much I love teaching seniors, because, again, for 13 years, I was helping to launch students into like that next level of their education. And here I am again as teaching seniors, saying, well, next year in college, when you get to college, really seize this opportunity right now to deepen your education, deepen your practices, so that will serve you well into college. So I feel like I'm always launching and receiving, and launching these kids and receiving them. And it's great. So that's some of my educational background, um, within the classroom and students. Now, my school district subscribes to this consortium, and it's all dedicated to equity work. So what happens is a bunch of teachers would go into Philadelphia, get trained on equity work. I'd say every 8 weeks, 12 weeks or so, where we would go all day, listen to workshops, and take all these copious notes and strategies and bring it back to the classroom, and um, integrate that into professional development, things like that. So since I had been doing my own work on my sabbatical, learning about strength based, and the book that I wrote is all about how to give your child a million kisses. It's called 1 Million Kisses, The Promise of 153. And the whole thing about that is when my daughter was born 14 years ago, I realized I was kissing her all the time. And I said out loud, oh, I must have given you a million kisses by now. And I thought, is that really possible to give a million kisses? So I cranked out the math, and I realized that if your child is with you for about 18 years before they go off to college or whatever, if you kiss them 153 times a day, times a year times 18, you will have kissed them over a million times. And I was like, whoa, that's actually pretty cool. Like when I was in school, we were taught, how large a million was. And I was like, that's a manageable number. To do something a million times, you just do it 153 times for 18 years. Or yeah, 18 years. So I wrote the book about that. And I was thinking, well, why am I so passionate about giving a kid a million kisses? What's going on with that? So I started to learn about kissing and how it creates oxytocin in the brain and these endorphins and the bonding chemicals. And then I started to learn about serotonin and um, lack of happy chemicals, positive chemicals, serotonin, oxytocin, dopamine. That's the other one. And their opposite, cortisol. And then I started to learn about stress and flight, fright, freeze, fawn, whatever you want to, all those F words, and what happens to the brain under stress and how to counteract that. So fast forward when I went to one of these workshops, this one man was talking about trauma and the brain and how it affects learning and emotional dysregulation. And I was like, oh my gosh, yes. Like I know some of this stuff, and everything he's saying, like I'm already there. I get it. But he was deepening my learning and giving me the research behind it, even beyond what I was learning. And I went up to him during lunch and I said, I love what you do. Like, how can I get more? Um, Teach me everything you know, and can I present with you? Like, I just went up to him and he said, actually, we do have a train the trainer program, and it's in Baltimore. So I did that, and I learned how to do first. It's such a phenomenal program. um, First, I had to learn strategies to have engaging presentations, how to leverage the brain, how the brain works, so that when you deliver content, the mind hooks into it. Once you went through that for a couple of days and you graduated from that program, then he gives you the slide decks with all the content, and you learn all that content, and then you apply those engagement techniques on how to present the content. So it's just fantastic. So I did that, and a couple of other speakers when I went down to that consortium. Again, I would go during lunch and say, I love what you do. And I'm wondering, like, are you familiar with this? And how about this? And the whole thing, like I said, appreciative inquiry, which I got trained in, a whole nother video that I'll do. Um, these extremely knowledgeable people, most of them don't know about appreciative inquiry. And I find that fascinating because it's so transformational and it's so in line with a lot of what they already do, positive psychology and all of that, mindfulness. So I started getting trained in these other people's contents. I started creating relationship with them. Some of them started to mentor me and help me make more connections. So here I am back in the classroom with certifications in brain-based instruction, trauma. Um, I want to say, I used to say trauma informed, now trauma responsive. It's one thing to be informed about trauma, but how do you respond to it when you recognize it? So it's taken me a while to shift to trauma responsive, resilience, growth mindset. I also have a whole parenting series based around my book and my acronym for LOVE, which is another post that I can do. And I started making a list of all my future topics. So should rewind this video, watch it, and start dropping that in my schedule of what I want to talk about over these next weeks to months. So yeah, I have all of this instruction, all of this certification. I have this really big skill set that is way beyond the English classroom. And I just feel the calling to work with other teachers, to do professional development, to work with schools, and how I might serve their mission to create a culture of psychological safety so that the students can flourish. How might we create a culture of having positive conversations among teachers and administration, among administration and students, among students and families with teachers, and you get the whole idea where it's this all-inclusive dialogue that we're having. So as much as I love teaching English, and there are some lessons that I really enjoy doing, I hope my students do as well. I can geek out on Shakespeare and iambic pentameter. I love to talk about different writing techniques, uh, the history of the English language and British literature and all of that. Joseph Campbell, he's a big passion. So I love doing all of that. But when it all comes down to it, if they don't have me for an English teacher, they'll have someone else for an English teacher who will have their own unique take on things. So if my goal is to reach those handful of students who really need me because of their own personal trauma or their personal challenges, I could reach a handful every year staying with my students. However, if I work with teachers, and I've been doing that and doing professional development, and if I work with parents, and if I work with schools, the exponential potential to just have it, this ripple effect, if I have one day where I have 100 teachers and I'm teaching them mindfulness techniques, and then they go in and bring it to their students, boom, like now, you do the math because I'm an English teacher. So that's what I've been doing in my spare time when I'm not teaching in the classroom, is in the evenings, on the weekends, is to consult with people, um, schools, other teachers, other workshop presenters. I have a lot of speaking coaches that I work with to take all of my training in the classroom and help speakers, or to do corporate, where what a teacher is able to do in the classroom with 30 or more students, that skill set, to engage them, to have them listen to you and engage actively with the material, to be able to, by the end, produce something. Um, Here's iambic pentameter, here's a sonnet, play. Now go write your own sonnet. And to get students to be able to do that, if a teacher, and any teacher, I'm focusing on English because that's my content, but any teacher, the skills that they have in a classroom translates into the real world. It's just phenomenal. And we don't really, I feel, get credit for that. So my mission now is to take my skill set, share it with people, leveraging what I'm able to do in the classroom, and also bring that to other areas within the high level schools, at high level, not getting down in the weeds, but as far as the organizational system of a school, redesigning that, helping teachers, helping other organizations, helping parents. Now, given that, we now can't leave our houses. So how might I be able to do that behind the screens? So what I am doing now is finding ways through LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook Live, Zoom meetings to consult with people who want specific one-on-one help, and also to give value to us all within this community of educators, of parents, of administrators, of change agents, of organizations, to share with you what I've learned, techniques, strategies, A lot of them are, not my own. They're not unique, but what I've been able to do is collect all of them together, and I've been implementing them in my own way. And then I can share with you what works, what I found works, and also, my own unique perspective on things. And I've taken some of the information, which is so overwhelming, and I've just distilled it into a couple of easy frameworks. So it's easy to remember, it's easy to implement, and I've put all of that, in just a couple of different spaces for you. So that's what I'm going to be doing for, as long as people are listening and I get some feedback that what I'm providing is adding value to you all. So thank you for listening for the past 20 minutes. Hopefully, you know a little bit more about me, my experiences, where I'm coming from, what my personal goals and passions are, to as a nice introduction to what you're going to be seeing in the future. If there's anything that you would like me to touch upon, anything that is social emotional learning, mindfulness, emotional intelligence, neuroscience with the brain and how we learn, emotional dysregulation, equity issues, culturally responsive teaching to make sure that we reach all students. What else do I love to do? Any types of parenting. I have tons of parenting program that I can put that as well. Engagement techniques, that's really great. How you can convert a live event into an online format and still get that magic happening. So those are a lot of things, but if you have more, put it below. If there's ones that you find particularly like, oh yes, do that one first, I really want that. I'm going to go through the comments and I'm going to listen. Also, if there's anything as far as, and please be kind, but any of my what I'm doing as far as the logistics, can you hear me? Am I doing something that's distracting? Is there something that is taking away from the value of the content? I'm open to feedback. So you can also drop that below as well. And reach out to me, Jennifer at jenformation.com. That's JENNIFER, traditional 70s way. At Jen Formation, which is JENFORMATION, because my little tagline that I was coming up with is that, it's information that leads to transformation. So I'm Jen Formation. My brother said it makes me sound like a transformer, but you know what? I'll take that because I am a transformer of people, of culture, of community. So I think with that, it's a nice way to end. Thank you so much. Subscribe, take this link, share it on your social media. I would love to gain some traction in rapid speed. Take care, be safe, be well. Bye.